So here's the DNA Memorial training videos for when to present to families. So you need to present this. From the feedback we've gotten from other funeral directors is that the earlier you can present this in the funeral arrangement, the better, the more success rate. Because after 40, 45 minutes of making decisions, and then the people kind of mentally check out and they can't kind of comprehend the higher level stuff, there's just simple decisions. So the earlier this gets presented, the more success rate they have. So we have this form, and it's been vetted. Sometimes people have the stuff on the cremation form as well, but on this form here we have, I've been presented with the information for DNA Memorial, and I authorize to take a sample. I decline to take a sample, or authorize to take a sample with a holding period, right? So if you give them this form and say, here's a form that you need to fill out to either authorize or decline the DNA taking the sample, then that segues into, you can preserve your family's DNA, you can get ancestry testing, or you can get medical testing if you so desire, right? So it opens up that conversation. The holding period is a good one. For not all funeral homes do it, but most funeral homes have an aftercare program. So what we like to say is we want the sample within about 90 days. Okay, so if a funeral home, the family declines at the time, the person making the arrangements, you send them home with a pamphlet, and they take the sample with the holding period. And at the 30-day mark, when there's usually a follow-up, they say, hey, it's 30 days now, and you guys need to decide if you guys want to go ahead with the sample or not, right? And then oftentimes they've talked to other family members who do want the sample, and then a lot of times they'll go ahead with the purchase at that point. So we need the sample within 90 days. If you give the family 30 days, there's still a 60-day grace period in there to get it to us with no problems. Now, that being said, we have had samples come in 1 or 2 years later. As long as they've been stored in the envelopes, in the files, there's no problem processing them afterwards. And also, too, there's no limit on the amount of vials they can get, so every single family member could get their own vial. We just have to take more swabs. So you want to take as many swabs as product. So if you're ordering six vials, you would take 6 sets of swabs and send it to us, right? And again, you always would take 4, and you save 2 in the client's file as a backup. That way, if something ever happened to the 4, because we simply mail them in the mail, the 2 in the bag, it would be backup. Something ever happened to them. It's never happened before. We've had to call sometimes when they're a bit low or something to top it up when they want extra stuff. But that is our insurance policy, is having those 2 extra swabs in the mail. They just sit inside the paper envelope. One big thing that people need to realize is a lot of people get their information about DNA from shows like CSI. Never put stuff in plastic. All forensic stuff, everything goes into paper. Paper will allow it to dry out, and it won't allow it to get mold and bacteria growth, right? So don't stick the swabs into a bag and then in the envelope. Stick them directly into the envelope and tape them shut. That's perfectly enough to keep them from being contaminated and also to keep them sterile, right? If you put them in plastic, which a lot of people think you have to, you don't, then they have the potential to get bacteria and mold growth on them. So it's just an extra thing to think about. But other than that, just present this as early as possible. There is no religious prohibitions on this. There's no cultural prohibitions on taking a DNA sample at all. The biggest factor is either socioeconomic, can they afford the extra money to pay for it? But even in our low-cost cremation providers, people will find the money, and sometimes they'll order the DNA stuff that's worth more than the cremation itself once they see the value in this. So it's an add-on service, and it's strictly a service, right? That you don't need any inventory or anything else. You're simply taking the swabs and sending them to us. Once we have the swabs, we do everything else. All you have to do is take the swabs, deal with the family, do an online order, send them to us, and then we take care of everything else.